What's up, guys? This is Shinobi Crossover. I'm back with another episode of What If Naruto Was Trained by the Sage of Six Paths Part 22. And if you did enjoy this video, give this video a like. And if you're new to my channel and like my content, subscribe and hit that notification bell for more crossover fiction with a twist. Now let's begin this new video.
Chapter 31. The Forgotten Hero's patience was an important virtue for all beings, whether normal or magical. This attribute was highly appreciated by those who live in the supernatural world, such as Shinobi and church exorcists. Naruto recalled how, as a young and inexperienced genin, he was impulsive and hot-headed in his early career. However, as he trained and matured with each of his sensei's teachings, Kakashi, Iruka, the elder, and the last two but most important characters in his life, Jiraiya and the Sage of the Six Paths, he became a better fighter. And his patience is being tested right now as he and his investigation team wait in the lot of the Vatican's private runway. Behind him was a white charter and elegant plane that was about to take off for their trip in Greece. Naruto crossed his arms and stared at Griselda, Irinia, and Xenovia, who were all clasping their hands together. He noted they were praying for a safe voyage and a safe return home together. Now he must ensure that he and the fourth member of their party return home safely. The familiar magic circle that had led him to Vatican City shone brightly in front of him in the exorcists as it had before. And, as before, a diminutive and familiar figure appeared in front of them as she stepped forward after the circle vanished. "Asia," Naruto said, getting a smile back from the younger blonde. "How are things going for you?" "I'm just fine, Naruto." Asia reacted. "Everyone was surprised when Lord Michael asked me to assist you with an investigation." The blonde laughed as she remembered Ria's surprised expression. "Is this some kind of practice run?" The shinobi simply nodded. "Yes. A trial run to demonstrate to the three factions that they can work together as well as with other factions such as the Greek faction." He turned around to see Xenovia and Irinia already on board the plane. Only Griselda was left. Come on, we should get started." "Hi." She observed the nun who was waiting by the mobile stairs as she followed Naruto's sister Griselda. As the former nun approached her, Griselda gave a faint smile. It's an honor to meet you." Asia spoke as she bowed in honor of the lady in front of her. Naruto shifted his gaze between Asia and Griselda. "You guys know each other?" "Of course," says the author. Asia replied with a tone that threw Naruto off guard. Sister Griselda is one of the top 5 female exorcists in the church. When a surprised Naruto gazed at her, Griselda chuckled gently. "Really? So she's tough? Do you want to find out?" When the boy ran up into the jet, Griselda questioned with a slight gleam in her eyes and chuckling behind her palm. "I wish you well, Asia." "Hi. Many thanks, Sister Griselda." Asia responded with a respectful bow before entering the jet as its twin engines put out a loud whine, suggesting that it was ready to take off. Sister Griselda took a few steps back for safety, holding her hood as she watched the flight-capable vehicle soar to the air, praying for their success. Ancient Corinth ruins, Corinth Isthmus. The Acrocorinth, formerly a heavily armed castle monolith, the Acrocorinth was the proud infrastructure that ancient Corinth and its residents took pride in during the city's once prestigious days. The castle, like the Acropolis in Athens, worshipped and was devoted to Helios, the Titan-turned-sun god before Apollo. It was now the cloaked man standing atop one of the 3 enclosed walls that ran in a zigzag arrangement from the bottom of the hill to the cliff. Because it was on higher ground, the Acropolis was an easily strategic citadel that could view the present city of New Corinth and the 2 harbors that connect both to the Aegean Sea, the Corinth Gulf, and the Isthmus of Corinth between the 2 seas. The figure evoked the history of this once great polis and ancient metropolis. The entire Corinthian Isthmus and the Acrocorinth were involved in a lordship conflict between the Olympian Poseidon and the Titan Helios. Briars, one of the 100-handed ones, mediated the disagreement by Helios claiming the Acrocorinth and Poseidon claiming the entire Isthmus of Corinth region, including the city-state of Corinth itself. They should send someone to investigate those bodies by now. Vatican's charter jet, 5 hours later, Z's. Z's, Naruto snorted with a choke before starting his Z's, happily avoiding the exorcist's twitchy gaze while Asia sat in the seat behind him. Naruto?" Asia gently shook the older blonde, prompting another snort. "Naruto, please wake up." Naruto snorted one final time before slowly opening his eyes and massaging them to wake up. After that, he found himself tiredly looking into the eyes of Irinia and Xenovia. "Good morning, ladies," he inquired, looking out one of the many windows to discover that it was still dark. "Night? Can you tell me what time it is?" 4 a.m., Irinia replied. Naruto grumbled as he sat back in his comfortable chair. 4 o'clock in the morning. What made you wake me up?" A little tap on the head caused Asia to turn around, revealing a nervous and bashful Asia. "You woke me up? I'm sorry, but the pilot said we'd be in Athens soon. As a result, I had to wake you up." "Alright, that's fine." Naruto smiled at Asia, who returned the smile. They didn't notice the hateful expression on Xenovia's face or the contemptuous one on Irinia's. They were caught off guard, however, when Naruto asked, "Why do you two have anger in your heart?" He gazed at them, seeing the typical stoic Xenovia but an astonished Irinia. Or am I completely wrong? As Xenovia spoke in her customary austere tone, Irinia shook her head. "You are Lord Poseidon." Naruto extended his hand. "I'm not one for formalities. Just call me Naruto, okay?" When Naruto noticed the females nodding before going for the bathroom, he couldn't help but see Xenovia's slight stare towards Asia. Did something happen between these three? Naruto went into the bathroom, closing the door behind him. When the intercom binged, it echoed throughout the plane. "Dear passengers, we are going to descend from 20,000 feet. Please take your seats again until the captain turns off the passenger seat belt sign." Son of a bitch. As the female trio returned to their seats in accordance with the captain's orders, Naruto cursed behind the lavatory door. "Welcome to Athens." After a few minutes, who knew that being an angel's ally would provide so many benefits, such as a free journey around the world? Naruto didn't, as he and his group walked out of Athens International Airport with nothing but the clothing on their backs and the mysterious items Irinia and Xenovia were carrying. He was concerned about one thing, though, that had bothered him since his premature arrival in Vatican City. Xenovia, Irinia, Asia and the aforementioned girls both gazed at him. "Are you girls sure you want to wear that?" He directed his finger at them, specifically at their apparel. "Those are the outfits." Irinia gave him a pouting expression. "You have a problem with the way we dress?" she inquired as she led the party to one of the airport's parking spaces. "Actually, I do." Naruto responded truthfully. "We've been sent here to find and apprehend the person responsible for the missing angels and exorcist." The gang entered one of the lots, where they discovered a man in a suit and a chauffeur hat standing next to a massive black automobile. Wait a minute. A Chevrolet Suburban. Sakari's influence drew his attention, like that of many other youths, to automotive culture. To pass the time while he wasn't practicing or hanging out with Ippo or Kenichi, he would read old motor magazines that belonged to Sakari. "And your point is?" As everyone entered the van, Xenovia asked stoically. To keep their chat private, she waited until the vehicle was off of the airport grounds before closing the window behind her. "It's not like the person in charge is waiting for us." Irinia's eyes widened as she looked at the solemn Naruto, who slowly nodded. "If this person knows about the three factions," Naruto explained, "he might be expecting the response team, aka us." Irinia and Xenovia exchanged hesitant nods as the latter was ready to direct the driver on their pit stop when Asia cautiously expressed her opinion. "There's a shopping mall nearby that's well known for its tourist attractions. Clothing is on sale at this time of year." Xenovia was ready to respond when Naruto interrupted. "Good thinking, Asia. Tell the driver where we're going." Before the driver could respond, Asia steered the dark and huge truck into one of the highway exits. "I'm wondering how everyone back at home is doing. In the meantime, Ryozanpaka Dojo Tokyo, Japan, get back here, you cat." "No, please leave me alone. I can't." "Why?" "Because you ate the last Oreo and drank the milk straight from the carton." Medusa screamed as she swung her bokken at the slightly terrified Kuroka, who deflected the strikes casually. Ria sighed and looked down at the letter she had just received from an angel. Her eyes widening, she glanced towards the direction of her homeland and placed her left palm softly over her heart. "Please, stay safe, Naruto." Meanwhile, Japan's Dark Valley center Hayato Furinji sat calmly atop a tree. Numerous birds perched on his large shoulders, staring at the mountains where the morning light had begun to shine its splendor hours before. He peered down to see Kenichi and Miu, his two masters, eating breakfast before the students began another day of harsh instruction. "I hope Naruto and the girls are okay." "What exactly am I saying?" "They'll be alright, of course." The elder chuckled as he remembered Naruto's joyful expression that night after his unexpected double date with both Ria and Medusa. He remembered the smiles on the females' faces as well. Young love. Just as he was about to drop to participate in the meal, his eyes widened significantly as he turned his head to the north, scaring the birds and causing them to flee. He had previously sensed this key. He recognizes the individual who possesses this key. He did, after all, raise him a long time ago. He's returned. Meanwhile, Japan's coastline, many locals and tourists spend the majority of their time on one of Japan's many beaches having fun and taking in the views. Today, though, was a little different. One of the children pointed to the water in the distance. "Mommy, what's that?" When the child's mother glanced where he was pointing, she noticed the water tilted in two, as if something was cutting through it. But she was certain of one thing. Whatever it was certainly approaching the beach. Everyone else on the beach soon saw it and began worrying, with some retreating for safety and the remainder choosing to observe. They made a mistake when the wave reached the shoreline and the force behind it passed past, knocking a few individuals down and covering their eyes with the upturned dunes. Oh, my gosh, what was that? Are you okay? Aiche, a man, stood near the edge of a hotel, watching the unintentional mess he had made. He was bored on the ship, so when he saw they were 40 miles from the shoreline, he resolved to finish the journey by doing the technique that his father and only a few experts of his quality can accomplish on water. Aiche directed his gaze to the north, where his house was located, before beginning the first hour of his journey back home. Corinth Canal, Greece. How much longer until we get to the next city? With a grunt, Naruto asked, leaning against the glass. As their conveyance carried them to their destination for their assignment, his eyes caught the rapid and brief sights of trees, plants, and the terrain that is Greece. The announcer just said we'd arrive in Corinth in 2 hours. The older blonde let out another groan. Please bear with it, Naruto. Naruto murmured, a greedy pout on his face. Rei's cooking sounds delicious right now. Who is this Ria person you keep talking about? Irinia inquired. She had changed from her fighting attire to a more casual gray suit. At the very least, it was less visible than the last costume, but Xenovia couldn't say the same because she refused to alter her clothes except for the long raincoat that covered her shoulders to her legs. Naruto grinned as he stared out the window. Someone pretty special to me, he explained, seeing her gaze out of the corner of his eye. She is quite dear to people around here, he says, referring to the remaining elder Olympian gods. That's all you really need to know. No fair, Irinia grumbled, as Xenovia scoffed and Asia laughed. After a few minutes of keeping to themselves, the train's television screens per row switched from the passengers' programs to the news program with the title, Urgent News, in Greek in yellow bold. Everyone's attention was drawn to the news except Naruto, who went back to sleep. On the displays, a young woman in a suit with dark hair sat at a desk. She spoke in Greek, but Asia quickly switched to Japanese translation. The city of New Corinth is in a state of panic after police officials discovered 3 bodies within the Temple of Ismia, located 9.9 miles from the ruins of ancient Corinth. The bodies were discovered by the temple's preservation team an hour ago. The girl's eyes widened in surprise as the TV turned from the woman to the crime scene, where a swarm of police officials and medical examiners encircled the 3 bodies, photographing and sampling the victims, and one of them was instantly identified. That's Charles, says the narrator. You knew him? Asia received a mournful nod from Irinia, who wiped a tear away. The victims displayed signs of torture, and the 3 died as a result of impalement by a sharp weapon. The camera shifted away from the officials to reveal the bizarre symbols on the temple walls. According to the preservation team, the symbols here are not part of the temple's hieroglyphs. The bodies were taken to the mortuary in New Corinth for examination. We'll return with more information shortly. Murmurs and talks broke out among the passengers, most of whom were terrified. The females snuggled up close, making sure no one was listening in. That looked like Enochian, Xenovia observed, earning a nod from her colleague exorcist and a surprised glance from Asia. Enochian? The language of the angels? Asia inquired, gently shaking Naruto. Please, wake up. Naruto murmured before opening his eyes, I heard. Enochian? Is that how Michael and the angels use their magic, such as the magic circle and light weapons? After glancing at Xenovia, Irinia nodded and clarified, yes, except the light weapons are innate, but something bothers me. Like how could someone know Enochian unless it was someone from our side, Xenovia remarked. An angel or someone very powerful. Naruto furrowed his brow. High-ranked. There are very few exorcists in the church who know Enochian, Xenovia clarified, and it's a sign of their skills being recognized by the angels, as well as a sign of respect from them. Sister Griselda is one of those recognized exorcists. Irinia then pointed out someone else. Don't forget about Dulio. Dulio too? Exclaimed Asia, earning a proud nod from Irinia and Xenovia. Who's Dulio? He is someone Irinia, Xenovia, and I look up to. Dulio is known as the strongest exorcist, and he possesses the 2nd strongest sacred gear that is one of the 13 Longinus. Asia replied graciously, while Irinia and Xenovia nodded. He's also someone who... What? Inquired a perplexed Naruto, laid back. Lazy. And also a glutton. Why do you say that, Xenovia? The shinobi noticed the train slowing down. Nothing. Nothing at all. Okay. Before the van came to a halt, Naruto and the girls heard the announcement that they were reaching the New Corinth railway station. Naruto paused and turned around to face the girls after exiting the train and approaching the station among the millions of visitors and natives. Alright, here's what I'm thinking. Let's all go to the temple and look for clues to the person's whereabouts and… Excuse me, but who made you leader? Irinia interjected, accompanied by a serious Xenovia. Naruto responded in the same deadpan tone. Because I'm Poseidon, and according to history, the Isthmus of Corinth now belongs to him and or me. The church members let out a sheepish, oh, while Asia simply chuckled awkwardly. So, yeah, that makes me the leader. Naruto? Yes, Asia. Wouldn't it be better if we split up? To cover more ground? Asia explained. That's not a bad idea, Irinia said, nodding slightly. Naruto addressed the females after a brief nod and thought. New plan then. Asia and I will head over to the temple while you girls go to the morgue and examine the bodies or, better yet, reclaim them. The female exorcists nodded before leaving with their wrapped bags on their backs. Ready to go? He asked Asia, who nodded before they left in the opposite direction. Acrocorinth, ancient Corinth Isthmus, Greece. The hooded person sat on the temple's roof ledge, his leg dangling over as he perused the open book containing more of the magic he used against the angels. So they do have a technique like this, huh? The figure thought as he glanced over a page with a knowing chuckle. Fortunately, I started looking for these ingredients a long time ago, he said, raising his right hand palm out, reciting an Enochian incantation he used during the ambush of the group. Before a very strong light erupted from the palm, a small but bright yellow magic circle appeared, lighting up the entire temple grounds and a few structures surrounding it. The figure stopped the spell with a flip of his palm before standing up and entering the temple. Just as a vibration rocked inside his cloak, he took out his phone and dialed. Yes? He paused to listen to the other person before smirking. Is that correct? They split into two groups? He waited for an answer and further details. Intercept the girls and bring them here, but don't take them lightly. They're still exorcists, and the men shouldn't treat them rough before the ritual. He heard the next question and responded differently. Get rid of the guy and the girl with him here as well, because you know what they say, the more the merrier. And for the ritual. He moved further inside to the back of the temple and pushed on one of the stone tiles that slid into the wall, entering a big area. An evil grin slipped his lips for a split second. Well, you men obviously need to satisfy your desires, right? As he placed his phone away, the stranger cut the connection. He peered at the scene in front of him as the sounds of fearful individuals weeping and sobbing mixed with the rattle of chains filled him with dread. New Corinth Isthmus, Greece. Who does that outsider think he is? Xenovia muttered as she and Irinia walked out of the morgue, where they had discreetly returned the dead to Vatican City for funerals. Irinia replied matter-of-factly, our leader. You know what I mean. He's not bad, though a little more laid back than I expected. Xenovia grumbled, I just don't understand what Lord Michael sees in him. I know, but we shouldn't be questioning the angel's decisions. Even if they're completely unnecessary. Irinia kept quiet as they went 4 blocks to one of the luxury hotels and approached the front desk. After paying for their guys, the girls entered the elevators and hit the button for the level where their room was located before feeling the sensation of moving upwards till they heard the familiar sound of ding. Irinia opened the door with the key card as they approached their room. I can't wait to sleep, she said as she sat on one of the room's queen-sized beds as Xenovia closed and shut the door. Should we call Naruto and Asia? Fine, the blue-haired murmured atop the pillow after a little pause. Irinia approached the room's telephone with a nod and was ready to dial the number when she discovered something crucial. They didn't have Naruto or Asia's phone numbers. Oh no. What? We don't have their phone number. What? Exclaimed Xenovia, shocked. I'm not even sure if one of them has a phone. Irinia shrugged as Xenovia whimpered on the pillow, the muffled sounds barely reaching her ears. This is not good. Obviously. Well, we know they're going to the Temple of Isthmia, so we might as well go there and catch up, Irinia said, looking into the bathroom. Right after I take a bubble bath. As she watched Irinia enter the bathroom with a towel before picking up a menu from the nightstand, Xenovia couldn't help but smile. And after I've eaten breakfast. She made the call and ordered a full-course breakfast for 2, for both herself and Irinia. It didn't take long, though. Knock knock, already. The blue-haired exorcist rose from her bed, taking just a few steps before her heightened senses kicked in. Her eyes widened slightly before she jumped beneath the bed for shelter just before the door splintered and the walls cracked from the power. Men in black clothes, including a jacket, slacks, and leather boots, could be heard walking. With rapid flicks of their wrists, the guys revealed the long, silver triple-bladed daggers placed upon them by their ally, before landing here. Well. The guys tensed as one of the girls they were looking for emerged from her bed, holding a weapon wrapped in bandages. I guess there's no breakfast now. And no shower either. A pouty Irinia emerged from the bathroom, still clad in her suit, which she was about to remove when the door exploded. You think they were sent here by the guy? She unraveled the rope on her arm before converting it into a katana with her thoughts, its blade shining in the sun. There's no doubt about it, Xenovia replied as she quickly removed the weapon's cover. When one of the guys saw the weapon in front of him, he shuddered. A double-edged sword with a long blade with 3 points, a cross in the hilt, and an axe-like guard that shields the hands. Prepare yourselves for the might of Excalibur destruction. Irinia spoke up next, pointing her blade at the soldiers, and also for Excalibur mimicry. The next few minutes were torture for the visitors and townspeople, who were all scattered under the booming and thunderous sounds that emanated from one of their renowned hotel's rooms. On the road with Naruto and Asia, what exactly is it? Just had a bad feeling. About? It's probably nothing, Naruto remarked before receiving a nod from Asia and returning to her crocheting. What do you think is going on? The seal he had surreptitiously placed on Xenovia's weapon had just pinged in his head. When the tracking seal is thrown, it uses the flying Raijin method in the kunai in the same way. He applied the seal when the latter was haggling with a food vendor inside the station. It could be a glitch, Ashura groaned before adding, after all, you just made it at the station. Naruto's eye twitched in response to Kurama's deadpanning. Not everything goes right the first time. Think again if you think we live in one of those fantasy worlds. Naruto mumbled and pouted. You don't have to be a jerk about it, Kurama, he said as he stared out the window of the tourist bus, land by land passing by every minute. The ancient Corinth ruins, the Acrocorinth, and the Temple of Ismia were the customary tourist stops for the tourist bus. At the very least, we get to see some places while working. Yeah. The two blondes remained in comfortable quiet of each other as they went about their separate pursuits, Asia knitting and Naruto debating with his tenants about who would win in a combat between the three of them, and this did not go unnoticed. Does he have a twitch or something? Asia asked, her face flushed as she noticed Naruto's left eye twitching and the angry vein mark throbbing on his right brow. I would win our fight. No, I would not. I am the most powerful tailed beast, and I would tailed beast bomb you two out of existence. Ha. You already lost me the last time, and I'd beat you too with Sage Mode, Furinji style, and a good old-fashioned Rasengan to the face. Why you? Ashura and Kurama yelled, their angry veins visible to Naruto. Naruto realized an unusual feature about himself when he and the others arrived in Greece. He can understand and read Greek. Naruto was surprised because, other from his own language, the only other language he had acquired from the Sage of the Six Paths was English. It took him a bit, but he figured out what was causing this unexpected action. The cause was a gift bestowed upon him against his will by an Olympian. It has to be the godhood powers, Naruto said to himself, noting that the dispute had stopped. Guys? Really? Godhood powers? What? Naruto inquired, perplexed. Give it a different name. Seriously? Ashura stood by Kurama. Yes, very seriously. Come on. Really? Naruto moaned inwardly after a chorus of, yes, what would you guys prefer to call it? The Almighty. No, both Naruto and Ashura exclaimed. Naruto? Asia called out to him. Naruto. We'll continue this later, Naruto said, closing the mind link and looking at a puzzled Asia. What's up? We're right here. Cool, Naruto and Asia said as they stepped off the bus, blending in with the small flow of commuters. The tourists stood in astonishment next to the bus, their cameras triggering a chorus of clicks, Andy snaps. Naruto and Asia stepped away from the pool and stood on the fringes of the ruins before them. The main street of ancient Corinth was a massive stone thoroughfare. It extended from their feet to the other side of the ruins and appeared to stretch for miles. On both sides of the road, there were multiple lots with Roman numerals inscribed on the earth, and in each one, there are broken Corinthian order pillars, some preserved Greek buildings, and statues of various kinds. The tourists, including Naruto and Asia, entered the old city after learning that they had 2 hours to explore the ruins. Asia, for one, was having a good time as she grinned at the children running around the ruins. Naruto was the same with a smile on his face, but that changed. Get down. Naruto yelled from a nearby damaged home as the area where they were standing exploded with rubble, leaving a deep hole in its path. The frightening event was repeated with more explosions and craters. The terrified visitors hurried back to the bus, which had taken off after they boarded, unintentionally leaving Naruto and Asia behind. You okay? Naruto inquired of Asia, who nodded before noticing a hole in the wall. Slowly, he scanned it and noticed their pursuers. Several hooded people in black attire wielding long, silver daggers and approaching their place. Crap, we're surrounded. What exactly are we going to do? You. Nothing. Naruto constructed a barrier around the nun after a series of hand gestures. As for me, I'm going to talk to these gentlemen. Stay within the barrier, Naruto said casually as he went out and stood before the figures as they prepared their blades. Who's going to speak first? Their response was to charge at him, which he was okay with. Naruto planted his feet as one of the figures approached him, evidently faster than the others, after deciding which action to perform that would not require time. When he got too close, Naruto reacted with a Furinji-style martial art move. Furinji Hito Shuriken. When one of their own was launched at them like a spinning projectile, the rest of the attackers were taken off guard. The majority of them were injured and huddled in a dogpile, but one of them managed to crawl out of the way. When the final assailant noticed that his teammates were unconscious, he adopted a different tactic. Naruto was taken aback when the figure twisted and bulged forcefully before tiring and slipping into his Furinji-style position. He observed as the figure grew taller, its garments ripped to shreds due to the abrupt muscle development. His hair had grown long and shaggy, almost obscuring his face, yet his fiery red eyes shone through like light. But that wasn't the only thing that threw him off guard. It was his brown-tipped snout and two horns sprouting from his forehead. After identifying the beast in front of him, Naruto mumbled under his breath, "Oh crap." The Minotaur was the culprit. Well, this was unexpected. The half-man, half-bull beast stomped on the ground before charging at the blonde teen with startling speed. Naruto leapt out of the Minotaur's charging before sprinting behind it and landing numerous punches that knocked the Minotaur to the ground. Bringing his hand back, Naruto delivered the final punch while stating, "Furinji Tech." The Minotaur abruptly halted his technique by spinning with a backhand, which knocked Naruto over the road with enormous force. The force was powerful enough to cause him to dig his feet into the ground, resulting in little trenches. Naruto uncrossed his arms and noticed that they were numb and shook slightly. "Damn, that Minotaur is strong," he said as he shook his arms. "I guess I'll have to bring out the big guns," he says, referring to ninjutsu. Then, Naruto ran at the bull, who did the same before lowering its head and impaling him with his horns. Naruto gripped the two horns just before they collided, halting the charge for a time before the Minotaur shoved him back with extra velocity. The Minotaur plowed Naruto through many buildings, leaving a massive dust cloud as their mark of presence. After several minutes of silence, Asia stepped out of the barrier, which then vanished. She glanced about for any clues that her companion was still alive, but she couldn't find any. Minutes passed before she noticed a giant blue object in the distance, which slammed into the ground, causing a massive dust cloud. Whoa! Asia staggered for a moment before collapsing to the ground. Ouch. You okay? Yeah, I'm. Asia raised her head to see the hooded individuals peering at her. Fine, she exclaimed, startled, before one of them grabbed her and placed a white cloth over her nose and mouth. When the hooded individuals realized she was unconscious, they entered the magic circle that one of them had formed while drugging the girl, and they vanished just as Naruto reappeared in a sunshine. Asia? Naruto asked, looking around for her. When he couldn't find her, Naruto became aware of the lack of bodies in the area. Crap, they got her. I told her not to step out of the barrier. Naruto closed his eyes briefly before opening them, looking to the south, where Asia's energy is located. I guess I'm going to climb. After that, the shinobi crouched before disappearing in a whirl of leaves. The Akrakorinth is a mythical creature. Xenovia. The blue-haired beauty opened her eyes to see a chained Irinia leaning against the wall to her right. Fear gripped her when she suffered the same fate after attempting to contact Irinia. Xenovia looked up after hearing a whimper on her left side and saw Asia chained to the wall like them. Xenovia asked the unconscious nun, Asia? Asia? Is she? After a few moments, Xenovia shook her head before turning to face Irinia. She's fine, but where is Naruto? What happened to us? The last thing she recalled was their terrible battle against the cloaked creatures, each of whom succumbed to the Excalibur fragments they carried before blacking out by a dazzling white light. Good, you've awakened, the females without Asia said as they looked up to see their abductor standing behind a similarly dressed hooded figure sitting on the chair across the room. And then we'll get started. What exactly do you mean? Who are you? Do you know who we are? The guy appeared to ignore their questions until he pointed them out. Obviously, you're church exorcists, but not just ordinary exorcists, the ringleader said as one of the men dropped a bundle in his arms on the ground, revealing the Excalibur fragments. Special exorcists. So you're the leader of these men, Irinia said, her eyes furrowed, and he nodded casually. So you're the one responsible for the murders of the angels and Charles. That was his name? Well, I have to say that his skills as a warrior were disappointing and downtrodden. I was hoping that you girls would put up a better fight at the hotel, but it turns out I was wrong as well. Darn you, Xenovia gritted her teeth. Who are you, and what do you want? The men and their captain exchanged glances before breaking out laughing for many minutes. Who am I? Questioned the ringleader, who had silenced the laughter with a wave of his hand. Hint. A person who went on a journey to reclaim something that had belonged to him and his father before him. As the ringleader continued his insinuation, Xenovia and Irinia both gradually calmed down, while Asia stirred in her unwelcome sleep. The person who gathered a group of well-known individuals from all over Greece and set sail aboard a trireme for the land beyond the Black Sea. The figure said as he rose from his chair and walked slowly approached the girls. The one who returned to his kingdom with a legendary artifact, found a woman, and eventually lost everything when he chose a different woman here, in Corinth. When the man crouched in front of them before removing his hood, the girl's eyes widened. His pale face was damaged by a big scar that extended from his brow to his chin, along with musty blonde hair that had lost its luster and dull but keen red eyes. You've asked who I am. Asia awoke soon as the person announced his name. My name is Jason the Argonaut, and I'm here to reclaim what is rightfully the Olympian gods. Boom. Jason, his soldiers, and the detainees looked to the other side of the room, only to see a massive hole in the wall with Naruto standing in front of it. And what exactly would that be? Jason stepped forward as his troops formed a phalanx in front of him. What everyone wants. The world. Naruto watched the girls bound to the wall and Asia's worried expression with a tilt of his head. Everything will be fine, Asia, he said lowly, seeing a nod before turning to face the smug Jason. Not one bit. Bring it on. Tokyo, Japan's Ryozanpaka dojo, what's for dinner, Ria? She was surprised as the motherly titaness dropped a cardboard box before flipping the cover, displaying a fairly wonderful-looking circle dough with numerous toppings. Pizza. She sat down, ignoring Medusa's twitching eyes and a sleeping Kuroka. What exactly is it? It's just. You usually cook your own food rather than ordering takeout. Is there something wrong? Ria sighed and took a slice from the box. I usually cook when he's around, and I don't plan on doing so until he gets back. You must really like him then, Medusa said, smirking at her blushing. But don't think I'm done chasing after him. Ria simply grinned after a few moments. I was hoping for that. Greece's Acrocorinth, they couldn't believe their eyes. They wouldn't believe it based on tales in the church about the supernatural world's fascination with one man's talents and abilities. Naruto Uzumaki is the name of a guy. Naruto dodged every punch, kick, and sword attack from the thugs with ease, thanks to his continual training. He led them back to the hole he dug until Naruto jumped over and shoved his palms forward, sending them flying with a strong gust of wind. Really? They were the best you recruited? He turned around to find Jason stripping down to his underwear, revealing rippling muscles and tribal blazing tattoos over his chest and arms. His attention was drawn to the former Argonaut as he assumed a combat position. His upper body was slightly leaned back, his arms up with fists closed. He's seen this combat position numerous times. After all, he'd seen his pals do it at the dojo and in their sparring matches. Muay Thai, huh? Mused Naruto. Tangard Muay, the basic stance in the martial art. Jason remained silent as he observed his blonde opponent assume a combat stance of his own. You're not going to tell me yours? I figured out yours. You should do the same, Naruto observed. There's something off about this guy. I'd better be on my guard. The two warriors remained in their postures, each waiting for the ideal moment to launch their attack, but doing so created a lot of tension in the chamber. Asia and Irinia sat against the wall, frozen by the strain, as did Xenovia, who was cutting her bounds with a small nail filer. I feel like the blood in my body just stopped instantly, Xenovia explained before returning to her work cautiously and discreetly. Naruto and Jason decided enough was enough and charged at the same time, with the latter landing the first punch. Naruto retaliated by tightening his grasp on his arm before throwing him over his shoulder, hurtling him across the room, and continuing his attack with a flying kick to the back. Jason, on the other hand, contorted his body in midair, narrowly grabbing the limb. As Naruto and Jason fell on the floor just before charging at each other again, they traded kicks that didn't land cleanly for either, but knocked each other away from another. Both exchanged barrages of high-speed punches that were either ducked or deflected, but the strength invested in each of them was no laughing matter. The shockwaves of each hit rattled and creaked the walls and stone in the floor to the point of free-falling stones from the ceiling. After hearing a surprised cry from one of the girls, Naruto deflected an impending punch with a fast roundhouse kick to the stomach, hurling the stunned Jason out of the room. I'll be back, girls, the shinobi said as he exited the room in a flurry of leaves. Naruto snickered when he saw Jason struggle to get his head out of the dirt when he reappeared atop the ridge overlooking the remainder of the Acrocorinth. Funny, he said as he leapt into the air, a Rasengan developing in his palm. Jason yanked his head out and rolled forward reflexively to evade his opponent's onslaught. When the Argonaut stood up to take his stance, he was surprised to find Naruto kneeling inside a crater, his hand in the dead center of it. What power! I've never seen anything like it before. What else is he concealing? Are you going to stand there or fight? Jason scowled at the prodding. I'm waiting right here. Fine. I wasn't expecting to use this so soon, but it's clear that you're not your typical opponent, so I'll have to pull out all the stops from now on. Naruto, intrigued, motioned him to do so while changing his stance to a casual one. Jason sunk his feet into the earth and launched his arms up to the skies, giving him Asori face. His gaze lingered before tensely tensing and his muscles bulging slightly as a white aura of energy surrounded him. Jason let out a loud shout, throwing up debris and breaking the ground as the sky above them darkened somewhat. He unleashed his ki. Naruto inquired, his gaze drawn to Jason, who continued to release his ki, increasing his power and strength. This could be troublesome. A bright light shone from his opponent, forcing him to lift his arm to protect his eyes. When the light faded, Naruto looked into the form of Jason, who was enveloped by an incredible aura of energy. Say your prayers. Jason grinned before assuming the Tangard Mui and disappearing from his adversary's sight. No one could see him with the untrained eye. Naruto, on the other hand, could see him as clear as day, despite feigning ignorance to sell his hopelessness while carefully monitoring his opponent and his objectives. The Argonaut was circling him at breakneck speed, leaving no evidence of his existence behind while doing a series of maneuvers that appeared to be warm-ups for a finishing move. A finishing move he's seen someone rehearse late at night. Could it possibly be? Flashback to 2 weeks ago? Ryozanpaka Dojo, midnight, another sleepless night due to overactive nerves from frequent battle and the Elder's training. Naruto returns to the kitchen for a glass of warm milk. Naruto yawned as he left the kitchen and stepped outside for some fresh air, as he had done before, but this time was different. Don't look, Kenichi. When Naruto noticed Apachai in the middle of the training grounds, he froze, glancing at a frightened Kenichi before the latter left for his room. After a few moments, Naruto noticed the Muay Thai master staring at him blankly. Hey? What is Naruto doing here? It's past bedtime, Apachai inquired earnestly, tilting his massive head. I'm curious about you, and why did you yell at Kenichi? Naruto noticed the giant's frown when he was reminded of what had recently occurred. Apachai responded a time later, it was something that he should never have to see, as do you. Apachai. I practice my martial art every night to honor the traditions and culture, Apachai replied, his gaze fixed on the moon, including dangerous moves that can kill. What do you mean? Sure, Muay Thai has plenty of moves that can injure people based on our sparring matches, but I've never seen you perform even the slightest hint of a dangerous move. Naruto was taken aback by what Apachai said next. It's not Muay Thai. Every night I practice Muay Borin, an ancient form of Muay Thai suitable for killing opponents. Naruto blinked, his expression blank. I understand why you didn't want Kenichi to see you practicing it. Yes, martial arts are meant to protect others and promote peace, Naruto said as he drained his glass of milk in one gulp. I would never want a disciple to learn the ways of killing. Naruto nodded once more. No arguments here, Apachai. You're a good master for caring about your disciples' well-being. He looked around the flat where his other fighters were staying. There are some things one should keep to oneself. Hi. The two stood in comfortable silence while a few clouds moved over the night sky. When the clouds swept over the moon, briefly covering its light before releasing it, Naruto and Apachai prepared in their respective battle postures. Ready. Yeah. The giant and ninja charged towards each other before launching their arms, their fists colliding with a loud boom. Flashback concludes. During their spar that night, he'd witnessed firsthand the devastation caused by the secret lethal Muay Borin technique. His reflexes in a Furinji-style move saved him, but the entire dojo and part of the main house were not spared. Mew was irritated the next morning, and that was an understatement. When Jason arrived in front of Naruto with his arms cocked back, he tensed. Crap. Jason threw a complete series of high-speed punches at point-blank range with fast and fluid motions. The force of each thrown fist inverted the ground, causing fissures to emerge and ditches to split apart. Mushroom clouds erupted into the sky, revealing themselves to those with eyes from kilometers away. After a few minutes, a powerful breeze pushed away the clouds, showing Jason standing in the midst of a new crater with his arms out in front of him. There was no trace of Naruto. Hehe. That fool was arrogant to think he could defeat me. The Argonaut turned to face the polis where his captives were held. Those girls shall be my reward. A voice cried out to him just as he was about to walk away, stunning him. You really shouldn't have said that. Jason searched for Naruto's origin and found him standing on the crater's edge with his arms folded. How did you? I hit you square in the face. There's no way you could have dodged it without taking damage. Naruto said with a little breath, but I did, with substitution jutsu in the mix. Then I'll make certain that I don't miss the next time. No, you won't. Having stated that, Naruto and Jason ran at each other, unleashing punches and kicks that were deflected, evaded, or countered, but neither landed a blow. After exchanging punches that never landed, the two warriors took a step back before charging again, this time with technique. Furinji Tekken, says the announcer. When Jason turned his upper body to avoid the attack, albeit narrowly, he gripped Naruto's head beneath his arm. Naroke Janali Ren Nam, he said, raising his left heel to strike at the head with the aim to murder. I don't think so. With a groan and 2 elbow strikes to the stomach, Naruto freed his head and bent backwards, changing to a one-handstand and thrusting a kick aiming at the head. When he didn't feel any impact, Naruto flipped out of the handstand and established his fighting stance while glaring at Jason. Will you take a look at that? Red liquid dropped to the ground in front of Jason, obscuring the tattoo designs as it streamed from a visible scar on his chest. I did manage to get you. Impressive. It's been a long time since I've seen my own blood in battle, Jason observed, laughing. That long, huh? Yes, I said, and then an idea struck me. I have a proposition for you, Naruto. Join me, Jason replied, holding out his hand. In response, he received narrowed glances. Think about it. With our combined strength, we can overthrow the 3 factions and restore the Olympians to their rightful place atop the world, and... His gaze wandered to something on the hill. Naruto followed his sight and found himself looking at the polis where the girls were. Those girls will be our slaves for the day, and Jason's eyes widened as he felt severe pain dig into his back before tasting dirt. As he strained to stand, he noticed his blonde opponent peering down at him from behind him, staring down at him. You. Naruto scowled and huffed. You really think I'm that kind of guy? Think again. His features stiffened and his eyes sharpened. What you said earlier. He paused to see if Jason was listening. How about returning the world to the Olympians? What about it? Jason tried to stand, but managed to do so, albeit barely. Then Naruto raced at him, delivering a volley of lightning-fast punches and kicks that Jason couldn't see. He completed it with a punch to the stomach that knocked him out. Naruto appeared above the depressed and approaching Argonaut and double axe punched his back, sending him plummeting onto the ground with a loud boom. When the smoke cleared, Jason looked up and noticed his blonde opponent hovering in the air like Zeus. Zeus. Wrong. Naruto said with a surge of speed, and another thing. The Olympians have formed an alliance with the 3 factions. Before Jason could react in astonishment or rage, Naruto hit him firmly in the stomach with enough force to make the crater deeper. Night, Argonaut. Naruto shunshined back to the temple, grabbing Jason's arm, where he discovered Xenovia and Irinia wielding their Excalibur fragments, with Asia standing behind them. Naruto, Asia said as he appeared in front of them, you're okay. Despite being in the middle of a combat, Naruto said, hey, Asia. He threw the unconscious Jason to the ground and hugged the former nun. There, it's fine. Those men won't hurt you now. Xenovia's eyes were wide with horror as she glanced at Jason's body. Why you defeated Jason? Irinia could only nod, her gaze fixed on a sheepish Naruto. It's not that big of a deal, Naruto said sheepishly after releasing go of Asia. Not a big deal, he says. The females wondered, their faces blank. They then noticed him making a cross with his middle and index fingers. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Several clones emerged before Naruto, frightening the females because it was their first encounter with the jutsu. Guys, search this place thoroughly for clues, anything, said the leader, before separating to search the entire Acrocorinth. Xenovia, overcome with surprise, cleared her throat, drawing Naruto's attention. How did you manage to do that? Yeah, I want to know too, exclaimed Irinia a moment later. Sorry, it's a secret, Naruto said to his dejected companions before receiving all but one of his now dispelled clone's memories. Everything seems to be clear here in this place, said the last clone, who came before him holding a white book and placing it in Naruto's hands before dispersing. What's this? He asked, turning around to show the girls. Do you have any ideas? Not sure, Irinia said, motioning for Naruto to comply. She attempted to open it but spotted the lock that kept it shut. Anyone have a key? No, Naruto, Xenovia, and Asia all said at the same time, causing Irinia's head to sweat. Alright. Naruto studied the room they were in until he discovered a chest that was partially covered by a drape after Irinia placed the book in a makeshift bag made from her ripped fabric. Hello, what exactly do we have here? When Naruto approached the chest and pulled the curtain off before opening it, the girls were perplexed. They noticed a shocked expression on his face before Naruto motioned them to come over, which they did. When they do, the ladies notice what has surprised and perplexed him. A seemingly large hoard of silver long triple-bladed daggers similar to the one Jason wielded. What are they? Naruto inquired of the exorcists after inspecting a dagger. No idea, Irinia shrugged before picking up one for herself and Xenovia. When Asia reached to pick it up, her hand burnt when it came into contact with it, prompting her to let go. Ouch. Asia. Are you alright? Naruto dropped the dagger in his chest and approached Asia, cradling her slightly scorched hands. The dagger burned you. He closed the chest of daggers. They, like the holy swords, must be filled with holy power. If so, then why haven't the church or the senior exorcists ever heard these daggers? Xenovia merely hummed. It could explain those wounds on the angels and Joseph, Irinia pointed out, and the others nodded. The man responsible for the squad's deaths was apprehended, and Naruto and the others returned to Vatican City via Griselda's magic circle. The day after, Ryozanpaka Dojo, Tokyo, Japan, home. Naruto said as he reappeared in his room in a yellow flash. As a thank you from Michael and Griselda, Naruto and the girls stayed at one of the prestigious hotels and were given a tour of Vatican City. They then chimed in for sleep before splitting up, with Naruto leaving Asia off in Kuo before heading to Tokyo. Naruto reflected about the weird artifacts he and the girls had discovered following their expedition. He was shocked to learn that the mystery book contains Enochian spells, sigils, rituals, and even the language itself. The daggers in the chest, it turns out, were formerly wielded by angels before the Great War, and they had the power to kill devils and other supernatural creatures. Despite the fact that the daggers were ordered to be destroyed after upgrading to light weapons, Michael would look into the situation. After leaving the building and stretching his arms, Naruto stood in the midst of the training fields, yawning. He scanned the entire dojo for energy and found none. I guess the girls left and I missed them, but at the very least I should get some training in. GROWWWWWLLLLL. Asterisk, he. Naruto rubbed his stomach, blushing slightly. That's right, I forgot to eat breakfast. As he took a stride, his senses went into overdrive, forcing him to leap onto the dojo's roof for a better view. I know you're out there somewhere, come out. After he stated that, nothing happened. Perhaps he was nervous because he had been extremely busy in recent days, particularly with the three factions summit and Operation Lost Hero, which resulted in Jason's arrest. The elder did say that if you don't rest when you need to, it will come back to haunt you. Perhaps that's what happened, he thought as he sensed an unexpected presence behind him and turned around to realize he wasn't nervous at all. Who are you? Naruto inquired calmly but firmly, his eyes narrowing. The man in the formal suit simply stared at him, watching the youngster and detecting his ki. This boy. I can't seem to sense his ki's limit, could he be suppressing it? If so, that's impressive even for someone training under my father's supervision. Naruto became exhausted and just waved the trespasser away. Whatever. Just leave, and I won't tell the tenants about your trespassing. He shooed the man. Go on, shoo. I see the elder and Akisame haven't mentioned anything about me, Naruto said, raising his brow. Given the circumstances, I'm not surprised, the man responded, folding his arms. As Naruto tilted his head, his anger was replaced by curiosity. Did you study at the dojo? I was, the man said with a modest nod. I've been trained in a unique style since I was a child. The mysterious conversation perplexed Naruto. You've been training in the dojo since you were a child? He cupped his chin in thought. I don't think any of the masters lived here except the elder, and Miu is about 16 years old, so you must have known her. Yes. And you have exactly the same hair color as the elder and Miu. Yes. And your ki, it's uncannily similar to the elder's and Miu's ki, but not as vibrant and rough, Naruto remarked. It makes me think you're related to them, Naruto said, laughing a little at his rambling. When he came to a halt after seeing the man's slightly serious face and intently examining and sensing, his face took on a surprised expression. You are, which means you're. Saiga Furinji. Saiga took a fighting stance, alarming Naruto. And I'm right here for you, Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto took his combat position as well, with a disappointed sigh followed by a furious groan. Me, and my stupid, freaking dumb luck. But fate intervened when a massive energy spike alarmed them, coming from the north and approaching quickly. I guess we'll talk more at the tournament, Saiga said as he stepped out of his posture, followed by Naruto a moment later. But I'll leave you with this. The older blonde Furinji vanished without a trace, leaving only an afterimage. I did not do what everyone else thinks I did. Huh. Naruto searched the area around the dojo's border and detected Saiga's ki exiting the ward. "Oh, no, you don't." He summoned a clone in front of him and gave it directions. "Tell Master Furinji about what happened, and I'll be back," Naruto said as he leapt several buildings using the body flicker technique. Tokyo's Shinjuku district Saiga could still feel the young Naruto's ki behind him after many minutes of riding through Tokyo's 23 wards, districts. "Impressive. My father trained him well," Saiga said as he landed on another building and was ready to leap to the next when he noticed the teen standing in front of him. How? Naruto fixed his gaze on him. "You're not going to get away from me easily, Saiga." "Wow, you're fast. To be honest, I could go a lot faster than you," Naruto said, surprised Saiga. "Only in real battles, of course." Saiga chuckled slightly after overcoming his amazement at seeing the truth in his eyes. "You're not lying, but I have to return to my organization, so we'll continue this at the tournament, as I previously stated." "Fine, you can go," Naruto said as he lifted his hand to halt Saiga's progress. "Just one question, answer me one question." "Alright, what exactly is it?" Saiga seemed perplexed when he uttered the names Mew and the Elder. How could someone who sired a great and bright girl like Mew, and is the son of a great man who values life and peace, be a part of an organization like Yami and its evil mechanics? Naruto inquired, clearly perplexed. Saiga remained silent while Naruto proceeded to speak. "I find it very difficult to believe that a relative of theirs could be evil," Naruto said. "Yes, I heard about what happened a long time ago, but I also heard from your father that you loved your wife very much and would never land a hand on her." Saiga stood silently, his head lowered slightly, shadowing his eyes. When Naruto casually went past him, he didn't move or flinch. "And I know you care deeply about your daughter. I just hope whatever you're planning happens soon." Naruto exited the building, roof jumping over the city. Within a minute of the boy's departure, Saiga grinned to himself as he looked behind him, where Naruto had gone for home, a smile on his face. "After all, my father made the wise choice." The Furinji master vanished, leaving a small footprint depression on the roof. "What a bright and sunny day," Naruto exclaimed, enjoying in the sun's rays before a wave of dense clouds obscured its reach for kilometers. Never mind. Another ordinary day at the Ryozanpaka dojo. It was straightforward for Naruto, but not for his fellow disciples, who were in another sparring bout against another Furinji-style disciple in training. As Kenichi and Mew came at him, their blows were stopped, deflected, or simply dodged carelessly. Naruto sprang backwards with a smile after avoiding Kenichi and Mew's twin punch and kick strike, before making a beckoning gesture. "Let's go get him, Kenichi." "Hi." The Ryozanpaka masters, Ria and Medusa with Kuroka, in her cat form, on her head, sat on the sidelines watching the spar, but this isn't any ordinary sparring. Naruto is also training them at the same time, pointing out their shortcomings and strengths. Naruto gently shoved Kenichi after catching his punch, which was sure to knock out someone of the latter's level. "Kenichi, put your entire weight into the punch if you want to knock them out." He then blocked Mew's leg with his forearm after sensing her in his blind spot, and Mew back-flipped away from him. "You have to be much faster, Mew, if you want to catch your opponent off guard." "Hi," they said as they took their positions before charging at him. Naruto merely moved his body to the side, blocking their assaults with one hand for each of them, chuckling to himself. They couldn't get past Naruto's powerful protection, even after speeding up their punches and kicks, and his expertise doesn't help either. Naruto gently shoved the youngsters aside after catching Kenichi's kick and Mew's punch, causing them to stumble onto their buttocks. "I think that's enough for now." "Ah, we still couldn't hit him," Mew grumbled, as Kenichi nodded. Naruto laughed as the younger kids stood up and approached him. He patted their heads and said, "You guys are ready for the tournament next week, you'll do great." "I agree with Naruto," the kids said, looking to the side to see the masters standing before them. "Mew and Kenichi are as prepared as they can be," Akisame said again, but Naruto, on the other hand. The jujitsu master stared at his towering comrade. Isn't his training incomplete? Naruto unwillingly nodded as the elder sighed. "I'm afraid so. There have been certain circumstances that have stalled our training," he said as he rubbed his beard and smiled. "But I know Naruto will be fine." "How many techniques have you learned from your grandfather, Naruto?" "I'd say 3 of the trine techniques, but they are not pushovers," Naruto replied, looking at Mew. He scratched his cheek and chuckled. "I'll only use them if the situation calls for it. Or if you just want to show off." Sakari smiled at Naruto's pulsing vein on his forehead. "Is any of them a finishing move?" "If you put your strength into it, any technique can be a finishing move." Naruto responded nonchalantly, smirking at the karate master. "And from the way you asked about them being finishing moves, it sounds like you don't have one of your own." He said it in a light-hearted tone. A vein-marked Sakari dashed to the apartment and returned in his tattered white doji, a punching bag under his arm. Take a look at this, kid. He hung the punching bag from a tree limb. This technique is exalted as the most feared and forbidden in the karate world. Really? Naruto inquired, sarcastically and with wonder. The elder and the other masters laughed, and Mew moaned exasperatedly before Naruto drew Kenichi next to him. Did Sakari ever show you how to use this technique? His response was a shaky head. Looks like you're going to learn it. Osu. Sakari built up his strength in his fist before unleashing it on the heavy bag. Instead of a full-on punch that would have sent the bag flying, Sakari appeared to barely punch it, and the bag did not move at all. The motionless sand cloud bomb. Naruto was about to make a witty remark when the other side of the bag exploded, letting the sand within fall to the ground in a heap. The shocked blonde ninja stared at the smirking and smug karate instructor after a few minutes. How? With this technique, a shockwave is generated without moving the bag even 1 millimeter. That's why people are afraid of it. Sakari approached the terrified and trembling Kenichi. And you're going to learn this technique, Kenichi. With his smirk, his eyes shone with lights. But I really don't want to. And furious Naruto slapped the terrified Kenichi on the head. Why did you do that? Because you should be grateful that Sakari is going to teach you a new technique. I don't know if Akisame and the others did it, but they should do it soon, Naruto said with folded arms. After all, Sakari has a head start. Naruto's master discovered what he was up to. Nice work, young lad. Before Kenichi could respond, he was dragged like a banner by the masters as they assaulted him with their secret finishing attacks, leaving Naruto, the elder, and the girls behind. Save me. Nothing we can do, Kenichi. Naruto chuckled at his annoyance as a loud growl erupted from his stomach, humiliating him. Sorry, I guess I'm just hungry right now. We can fix that for you. Medusa smiled as she stroked Kuroka's head. We'll be having ramen with chafusu pork and sushi, Ria exclaimed as she and Medusa moved into the main house. Naruto threw his arms up in excitement, pleased and smiling. Yay! He screamed before feeling a massive hand on his head and realizing it belonged to his lord. Elder? Walk with me. Naruto followed his instructor out of the dojo, walking behind him on the concrete streets of their metropolitan city, knowing what he wanted to talk about. The elder talked to his disciple in a solemn tone after ensuring that none of the usual eavesdroppers, Kenichi, Mew, Apachai, and Shigur, were following them. You've already met him, my son. For the 100th time, Master, yes, I met him. Naruto replied with a subtle roll of the eyes. His run-in with Saiga happened a week ago, and when he notified the elder, he was barred from leaving the dojo until the competition. That will be next week. I didn't ask because I have a gut feeling, but I'll ask anyway. Do the other masters know? They do, and they were taken aback. In particular, Akisame. Oh, that's right. Before the former's alleged defection to the Satsujinkan, Saiga and Akisame were great friends. The room where I'm staying, was it your son's? Naruto inquired. The elder remained silent as the two strolled for several blocks before entering a park filled with people and children. The master and student sat on an empty seat beside the lake, remaining silent as they watched people pass by. How fortunate they are to be ignorant of their surroundings. Do you think you believe him? After what seemed like hours, the elder finally spoke. Naruto knew what he was talking about without even looking at him. Saiga's innocence in the murder of his wife, Shizuha Furinji. I do. How come? When he gazed at the younger blonde, he received a little smile in return. Because he's your child. As well as Mew's father. Naruto gave the elder a final look before departing. That's all the proof I need to believe him. He didn't even look back to see the elder's knowing smirk before recalling Saiga's expression and body language that day. The man appeared to be on a mission, determined to complete it by whatever means necessary. But that doesn't mean he'll leave Saiga alone, which means it's ninja time. Speaking of ninja time or something similar, perhaps I should ask Ria for ribs and orange chicken, Naruto said, his mouth drooling. The elder sighed and followed him back to the dojo after hearing that with his exceptionally acute hearing. After a few moments, the teacher and student selected the picturesque way back to Ryozanpaka roof, leapfrogging Tokyo's skyscrapers. As Naruto and the elder landed with two loud crashes in the dojo's training fields, the younger blonde gazed at the older and more muscular one. Master? Yes. Hayato inquired as Naruto made hand gestures that formed an invisible sound barrier around them. What exactly is this? He grew anxious when Naruto remained silent. Naruto? Naruto took a deep breath and stared up at his tall master. 3 nights ago, I had a dream. Hayato motioned for him to continue. Well, I've been having dreams for a while, but they're weird ones. How so? Hayato said this before sitting down, and Naruto followed suit in a cross-legged position. Explain. Naruto stroked his chin as he considered them attentively. Well. The first one was only a hint of something. Hayato made a go on motion with his arm. I may sound insane, but the vision was something like a sheep's head. In the bow of a boat of some sort. Really? Hayato couldn't help but perspire. Naruto coughed and cleared his throat. It doesn't make sense to me either. Fortunately, the second dream was more than just a flash. It was a full-fledged dream. It was about a kid my age with spectacles who was at an exhibition when he was bitten by a spider. There's nothing strange about that. The spider was hit by some kind of green laser before biting the guy. Oh. Hayato is starting to feel uneasy. Is there any more? Naruto wiped his head roughly before responding. After the second one, the dreams were glimpses except for the most recent one. It was a guy. The same one from before? Naruto shook his head in disbelief. Are you a different man? It was a good nod this time. Who exactly is this man? Well, he has spiky black hair, spikier than mine, and he was flying in. He was fighting two guys who were wearing some kind of armor. Naruto could smell Ria and the girl's home cooking, which made his mouth water, but he shook it off. Then he defeated one of them with a technique that somehow increased his power, and the dream ended. I did appreciate the guy's uniform, which was an orange GI with a dark blue undershirt. People who wear orange have my undivided attention. He finished with a nod of approval. The elder rubbed his bushy beard as he considered this after hearing this. And you've never met or seen them? Once more, Naruto shook his head. Could this be related to your becoming god? Naruto blinked blankly and pointed at the elder. That's got to be it. No, that's got to be it. He stated without hesitation. Just like what happened with the Greek language. The elder's gaze fell on him, prompting an answer from his mouth. I discovered I could read, understand, and speak Greek, both ancient and modern. Huh. The elder noticed Mew motioning for them to enter the house. Looks like the food's ready. When his apprentice heard those words, he ran, leaving a dust trail behind him while simultaneously weakening the barrier. Things are becoming far too hectic for you. District of Minato, could you please tell me why I'm here again? Naruto whimpered as he trailed Mew and Ria, Kenichi by his side. Mew returned his gaze, pouting at his tone. Because you need to do something besides train. Besides, the holidays are almost approaching. You do know that Christmas is coming, right? Naruto replied, tilting his head. Then she and Kenichi heard words they'd never heard before. What's the deal with Christmas? The pair exclaimed loudly as Naruto became further perplexed. What? Oh, Naruto, Naruto, Naruto. Kenichi sympathetically stroked the taller boy. Where have you lived in your life that you have never heard of or known about Christmas? I'm not sure. Maybe I'm from another dimension when there was no such thing as Christmas. He wanted to react, but Naruto shrugged and continued. My village was very isolated from the rest of the world. When the hands of a star-struck person touched his head, a large sweat drop developed on his head. Mew grasped his own before being dragged around like a child with her toy. What's going on right now? Kenichi laughed, and Ria laughed, before cupping his mouth with his hands. You're about to get the full Christmas package. When Naruto regained his footing, the two hurried to catch up with Naruto and Mew, who were failing miserably to drag the taller blonde any further. Come on, come on. Allow me to demonstrate the glories of Christmas. After she stopped pulling, the Ryozanpaka beauty expressed her frustration. Why are you refusing? Naruto made a shaky motion with his head. I'm not. You simply caught me off surprise. He chuckled sheepishly as he massaged his chin. So, what happens at Christmas? An unexpected gust of cold air sent shivers up his spine. Ah, what's the deal with the cold? Because it's the snowy season. Kenichi reacted with a deadpan expression. Why else would Ria, Mew, and I be wearing these jackets? He redirected his finger to the girls after pointing to his thick brown overcoat and scarlet scarf. When Naruto looked closer, he noticed Mew wearing a white coat with matching earmuffs and Ria wearing a green thick jacket with brown mittens and a matching scarf around her neck. They all seemed quite kind to him. Kenichi stated, staring at Naruto, you're the only one who hasn't. Whatever. Naruto straightened his headband before recognizing Ria in front of him wearing a large orange jacket similar to hers. Thank you, Ria. I truly believe you are a divine. Ria blushed slightly when Naruto took the jacket and put it on, quickly growing warm. Ah, nice and toasty. How about Kenichi and I go shopping? Mew sneakily murmured before tugging a stunned Kenichi along with her. Can you get the food while you two go get it? The smaller children had already left before the Shinobi and Titaness could say anything. Naruto stared at Ria, who looked back, and similar smiles appeared on both of their faces. Normally, I'd whine like a child, but with you, I'm fine. Me too. Ria laughed before encircling one of Naruto's arms and leading him to follow her. And I get to tell the story of how Christmas began. Do tell, my beautiful goddess. As they went under the cascading shade of white trinkets, Naruto suppressed the blood in his nostrils as his arm was suffocated between Rei's assets. Dojo Ryozanpaka, this is very bad. With a huge sweat drop, Akisame stated. A bashful Shigur and an apprehensive Apachai stood in front of him, with a big tree behind them. Just next to a stump that appeared to have been chopped and punched through. This is terrible. I'm sorry for you too. It's not my fault. Shigur gestured to her colossal pal. He was the one who started it. Appa. Shigur's blame-shifting game piqued Apachai's interest. This is not correct. Apachai simply wanted Shigur's favorite Othello piece, but she snatched it and ran. The scuffle between the younger masters was effectively ended when Akisame cleared his throat. It makes no difference who started it. What counts now is where we go before Hayato returns. Apachai and Shigur's spines tingled before they began to shake in place. I'm pretty sure you remembered the last time. Images of Hayato chasing a terrified Apachai and Shigur carrying Tochumaru on her shoulders in a Christmas night while shrieking, "I'll murder you," made the masters quiver and fidget excessively, even Kensai and Sakari, who had just arrived. That was a night I desperately wanted to forget, Sakari stated after taking an unsteady swallow of his beer. Kensai nodded while shivering and trying to read his adult magazine. That night haunted me for months. Back then, I couldn't even look at Hayato. Yosh. Everyone turned to gaze at Akisame, who had bright eyes and a resolute expression. We will save Ryozanpaku's Christmas with our save Christmas by finding a tree before Hayato comes back plan. Hi. The rest of the masters screamed before vanishing in a rush of speed towards the north. Along with Naruto and Ria, the pair disregarded the stares of passing boys and girls as they hopped from store to store in search of the ingredients for the dinner party. Naruto stared at Ria, who was carrying the 2 bags of groceries, as they exited the one that contained the final ingredient they needed after a brief skirmish with a customer who tried it from them. Ria? The Greek beauty turned to face him. So, do you know who's coming over to the party? Naruto inquired, perplexed. Ria smiled as she nodded. Kenichi did indicate that a few of his school pals are coming over. They appear to be martial artists of various styles. Is that so? Do you know what they study? His response this time was a shook of her head. I guess I'll have to find out at the party, he chuckled as Ria slapped him. What? No fighting, Ria chastised, resting her head on his shoulder. I think you've done enough of that for a while. Naruto nodded in agreement. Tell me more about it. After a long, deliberate walk telling the story of Christmas, the birth of Jesus, and the many customs that followed, the two returned to the dojo to find an odd scene. The sight of the masters, sans Sakari and Akisame, getting tangled in a tangle of Christmas lights. It didn't take long for the more experienced martial artists to discover them. What's going on here? Naruto inquired as Ria approached them to assist with the entangling. Just a minor setback, Kensai explained, struggling to disentangle his hands but only making matters worse. Naruto said with a deadpan expression, right. Naruto released the masters with a succession of knife hand attacks, startling them with his competence and precision, with the help of his subtle wind chakra-coated hands. What? He said, noting their shocked expressions. Why, you used knife hands, Apachai said blankly, pointing to the blonde. So? Hey guys, what's going on? Sakari asked, followed by Akisame, but his grin faded when he felt the glares of Kensai, Apachai, and Shigur, as well as a glaring Tochumaru. What? Sakari was abruptly dog-piled on by his just-freed owners, resulting in a wrestling bout. What exactly is your problem now? Naruto smirked as he observed the restrained wrestling fight between the 4 masters before noting Ria and Akisame's disturbed expressions. What? Aren't you going to tell them? Tell them exactly what? Ria was the one who responded this time. You know exactly what I mean, she said, her hands on her hips. Tell them. Tell us what? The scuffle had halted by this point, and the 4 masters were staring intently at the frightened Naruto. Naruto shrank slightly and wiped his chin nervously. I may or may not have practiced the discipline on my own. During Sakari's sessions with Kenichi, since I arrived. Naruto decided to do the same thing when Ria exhibited a karate technique during their small spar on Furinji Island for the Peace Summit, as well as his passion in the martial arts since day 1 at Ryozanpaka Dojo. But he had to do it quietly because his master was adamant about him only learning the Furinji style. Even if the elder found out, he wouldn't be able to avoid his fury. Instead of being tackled to the ground, Naruto was swarmed by a joyful Sakari in a tight bear hug. Ha ha ha. I knew it, he said, one arm pointing at the downed masters as he let go of the perplexed blonde. I told you. This demonstrates that karate is the most powerful martial art. The once jolly atmosphere had suddenly changed into one of immense pressure. Oh, Naruto and Ria murmured at the same time, taking a step back as the masters, including Akisame, all had blazing and glittering eyes, their ki pouring out of their bodies. This is not good, Naruto said as he threw his arm around Rei's shoulders and her arms around him. I might actually have to intervene here. Do you want to rephrase that comment? Akisame responded, clearly upset. Kensai nodded, a tick mark on his brow. I didn't think you were capable of such a joke, Akisame said bitterly, confident of his colleague doctor's support. Obviously, Chinese Kenpo is the strongest. That's not true. No. Apachai's master said that Muay Thai is the strongest, Apachai retorted to the Chinese master. No. Weapons are the best, Shigure remarked as she drew her nodashi from its sheath. Ria gulped loudly as she watched the masters prepare to fight. Shouldn't we put a stop to them? No. Naruto shook his head, pointing at the gates behind them with his free hand. He'll take care of it. The 5 masters grew pale as they tensely turned around, their bodies turning absolutely white when they spotted a grinning Hayato standing there with crossed arms. Can I also join and participate? Along with Kenichi and Miu? When the 2 disciples gazed to the east, toward Ryozanpaka, they felt a momentary but massive ki release that vanished as quickly as it appeared. Wasn't that yep? Miu replied exasperatedly as she continued walking before Kenichi caught up with her. They must have been at it again. A perplexed Kenichi asked, adjusting the hefty load on his back. Oh, before you came to Ryozanpaki, the masters used to argue about which marital art was the strongest. As an answer, she received a perplexed head twist from Kenichi. But isn't your family's style the strongest because the elder is the dojo's master? Of course, but the argument is usually between Akisame, Sakari, Kensai, Shigure, and Apachai, and my grandpa usually breaks it up before it gets out of hand, as happened only minutes earlier. These days, they try to rise to the top by doing something unrelated to martial arts. Like what? Board games and such. Oh. Kenichi and Miu exchanged glances before turning to face each other and heading for the dojo. I'm betting that no one wins in the end. Except for my grandpa. Of course. However, things are in store for them, and they are in for a surprise. After 2 hours, what happened to them? Kenichi and Miu exclaimed upon seeing the fallen and bruised masters, whose eyes rolled back except for Akisame's closed ones. The elder, who had a massive bulge on his forehead and swirly eyes, was also one of them, which was astonishing. Grandpa. Kenichi noticed a nearby unconcerned Naruto whistling a tune after putting up the new tree. What exactly happened here? The masters actually challenged the elder to a fight, which he obviously accepted and defeated all of them, but Sakari managed to land a direct ki-infused hit on him. Naruto responded without missing a beat before glancing away to the side. I can't tell them I was the one who knocked out the elder, he said, overcoming the master's senses with the help of something called Sage Mode and its improvements. Miu sniffled and cried, oh no, what are we going to do now? Ria and Medusa emerged with pots in their hands, smoke escaping from the hole as the delectable perfume captured Naruto and Kenichi's nostrils as they sniffed loudly. They weren't alone, as every one of the masters jumped to their feet, albeit with a few grumbles here and there. However, before anyone could reach the scrumptious hidden food, Ria and Medusa used a ladle and tongs to reject their filthy hands. Oh no, you don't, Medusa shouted as she waved her tongs at the ravenous audience. The decorations aren't finished, so no one's going to eat until they're, Ria interrupted as quick blurs of numerous colors raced around the dojo, only for some of the Christmas lights to be held on the rooftops and the rest to be decorated on the tree that stood in the midst of the training area. Up. Never mind, but we still have to wait for our guests. Ah, the inhabitants said, their shoulders slumped. Ria voiced the obvious inquiry after witnessing the unexpected absence of the blonde shinobi and glancing around the area they're in. Where did Naruto go? Everyone just shrugged and resumed their feasting. In the meantime, Tokyo International Airport, the passengers mixed with the mob of others who were either waiting for their flight or had just arrived from other airlines from other nations as they exited the tunnel that connected the plane to the terminal. Japan's coast and capital city, Tokyo, were inundated with snow, just as the east coast of the United States. However, the storm was not severe enough to cause outgoing planes or arriving traffic from neighboring nations to be grounded. Among them was a woman who made her way through the mob to the baggage claim area. She had brown hair with ringlets, red lipstick, and wore a brown coat that concealed her form, but her eyes were the most distinctive feature of this woman. Her eyes were the color of fire, yellowish red, and it definitely didn't help with passing men's looks. Every time, she grumbled exasperatedly as she approached the baggage claim area. After a few minutes, the woman discovered the luggage, 3 of them, and easily pulled them out. "Now where are they?" she asked, scanning the direction she had come from. "I told them to come here when they were finished." "Looking for someone, ma'am." Her eyes widened slightly as she recognized the voice she had heard on the phone 2 weeks before. When the woman turned back, she saw a happy blonde youngster with 6 birthmarks on his cheeks, a headband on his forehead, and a warm brown coat. "Yes, you can," she replied, imitating the blonde's grin. "Then let's go find them." After 20 minutes, Ryozanpaka Dojo. The generally silent, save during training sessions, world's strongest dojo was filled with chatter, songs, and excitement. The inhabitants and their guests who had arrived on time inside the main building were served cups of hot chocolate by Mew. "Here you go, Takeda and Yukita," Mew said to the boys. Because of their different martial arts, they had different statures in terms of height and build. Takeda, the smaller of the two, had indigo hair in a ponytail, dark skin, and a stick in his lips. Yukita was the taller one, with broad shoulders, light green hair, and a pair of spectacles that shielded his eyes from everyone in the lights. "Thank you, Mew," said the 2 boys before sipping their beverages and appreciating the delight and taste of it. "Delicious." "Boys." A distinct voice called their attention to their visitor. It was a young girl, about Mew's age, with a red hat on top of her brown hair and yellow slit eyes. She was dressed in a crimson jacket and a whole set of pants because her customary one was missing a leg and was therefore unsuitable for the weather. Takeda grinned and pointed at her. "And what about you, Kasara? You look like you're having fun with Mew's cat." The black cat purred beneath Kasara's delicate touch as she leaned on the girl's knees. "Whatever." Kuroka was internally depressed about her situation. "Damn it, this hasn't gone as planned at all. I haven't been able to be close to Naruto since I got here," she said, a faint smile tugging her cat mouth. "But, come midnight, that will change." Everyone. The guests turned to see a formal decorated table with plenty of excellent, warm food on top. Ria and Medusa smiled at them, making a mess of Takeda and Yukita's drooling. Food is now served. Yay, everyone, except the elder, Akisame, Ria, and Medusa, dashed to the table before they sat down and devoured the magnificent food before them. Medusa laughed when she saw Sakari pursuing Apachai for the last glazed gingerbread cookie before turning to face Ria, who had a faint scowl. "What exactly is it, Ria?" "Oh, it's nothing," Ria murmured, seeing Medusa's dry expression of doubt. "I miss my family. My kids." "Oh, it's been a very long time since I've seen either of them," Medusa said, wrapping her arm around Rei's shoulder and bringing her into a one-arm hug. "I wish I could see them again." "Ask and you shall receive." Naruto entered the room, welcoming everyone in attendance. "Hello, everyone." "Naruto," exclaimed everyone except Yukita, Takeda, and Kasara. "Who's that?" Kasara asked her friends, receiving a shrug from Yukita before noting Takeda's thoughtful expression. "Takeda?" After a minute of deliberation, the child clenched his fist in his palm. "Oh, I see who he is now. He lives here in the dojo with Kenichi and Mew, and he's apparently Mew's grandfather's disciple." "Disciple?" Kasara and Yukita gazed at each other, then at the towering figure that is the elder, and back at each other. How could he possibly survive that guy's training? "Beats me." Choosing to ignore their talk, Naruto approached Ria and Medusa before bringing them outside the main structure, where a guest or guests awaited them. It was the mother from the airport, with 2 small daughters on either side of her. The young girls wore identical white jackets and had their mother's hair, but the only difference was their eyes. The one on the right had blue eyes and the one on the left had red eyes. Ria let out a quiet sigh as the woman smiled at her with closed eyes. "Hello there, mother." "Hi grandma," said the twins, waving their hands at Ria. When tears of joy cascaded from Rei's eyes as a smile pulled her lips, both Naruto and Medusa smiled. Hestia, the now famous Hesita, smiled as her mother shifted her gaze from her to the twins. "Why you two must be." Ria paused jokingly as she motioned her grandchildren to say their names. "My name is Celine," exclaimed the young girl with the ruby eyes as she grinned. After that, her blue-eyed sister introduced herself. "And I'm Isabel." Isabel and Celine exchanged glances before sprinting to Ria for a strong hug. "It's so nice to meet you, Grandma," Ria said, returning their hug with her own strong one before Hestia joined in. "I'm so glad to see you girls," Ria said, breaking the hug to stare at the smiling Naruto. "How did you happen to find her?" "During my first visit to Atlantis, Poseidon mentioned Hestia and her daughters lived in New York, so I called Hestia and invited her to spend the holiday with you," he said as Naruto closed his eyes. "I tried to invite your sons, but they had their own plans, but they send their love to you, and everyone should be happy during the holidays, as you told me earlier, didn't you?" Rei's face became bright red when she saw him smiling like that, but she fought it off. Ria gazed at Celine, who motioned her head towards something atop Naruto after feeling a nudge on her leg. She then walked over to Naruto, her blush returning to full force. "Thank you very much, and I have a gift for you." "Really?" Naruto was taken aback before noting Rei's tiny gaze upward, causing him to do the same. It was a Christmas custom that denoted intimacy. "Hey, isn't that mistletoe?" His head was dragged down before he felt her lips touch his. Naruto and Ria wrapped their arms around one another, their mouths still united as they loved it. Hestia beamed happily as her daughters celebrated their grandmother's delight with Naruto. However, there was one who was dissatisfied at the moment. "No." Medusa screamed anime tears before spotting Rei's smug wink. "Ooh, you won this round, but the fight continues." Naruto and Ria eventually separated, much to their chagrin, because their cheeks were as red as Rudolph's nose. "That was amazing," Ria said before finishing, her smile returning to Naruto. The blonde shinobi softly pressed his headband-clad brow on the titanous brow. "Merry Christmas, Ria." "Merry Christmas, Naruto." Later that evening, Naruto appeared on the dojo grounds via Shunshin after ensuring that Kenichi's friends were safe on their way home. Naruto's mind returned to the martial artists as he moved inside the main building, as they were rather interesting to say. First and foremost, they were Kenichi's adversaries and members of Ragnarok, a neighborhood gang comprised of marital artists. The gang used to rule the neighborhood of aspiring martial artists by threatening anyone who were unlucky enough to be on their radar with a beating. Fists were their most powerful combatants. Each fist has a codename derived from Nordic mythology. Kenichi had faced Takeda and Yukita before, but not Kasara. Kenichi's ethics forbids him from ever hitting a girl, therefore Mew took care of her. The most intriguing aspect about them is that they all stated that Kenichi altered their lives for the better, including their martial arts. Takeda wanted to get stronger so he could beat Kenichi the next time, thus he's currently under the guidance of a great boxer and a Kisami's mustache competitor. Yukita returned to the judo club to develop his judo skills, while Kasara just joined them after being attacked by Freya, the third fist. Boxing, judo, taekwondo. Very intriguing. As he came to a halt in front of his room, Naruto smirked at Kenichi's defeat of the martial arts practitioners. Things are going to get rough for them from here on out. He opened the door intending to sleep and dream about Rei's exquisite lips, but that purpose vanished when he noticed her sitting on his futon. "Ria, what exactly are you doing here? Isn't it obvious?" Ria blushed slightly as she patted the area next to her with her beautiful smile. "I'm going to sleep right here." "Eh?" Rei's blush returned, and she hesitantly replied, I was wondering if I could sleep with you tonight. Hestia and the girls are sharing Mew's room, so I figured." Naruto stopped her with his hand. "Say nothing more." As he sat next to Ria, his cheeks flushed. "I was wondering the same thing." He muttered this while anxiously scratching his cheek. "Just so you know, I'm not going to try anything crazy." Aye, thanks." The flushed Ria said as she and Naruto sat on the futon, the latter pulling the blanket over them. She grinned as Naruto's arms wrapped around her waist and she wrapped her arms around his neck, drawing them closer together. "It feels right." "I know, right?" Naruto stated before kissing her on the cheek. "Good evening, my goddess." "You do know I'm a titaness." Asterisk chuckled to me, "You'll always be a goddess." Naruto gave her a smile before understanding anything else. "Why aren't you recognized as a goddess?" "What exactly do you mean?" "Well, you helped your children during the Titanomachy, so I've always thought you should have been recognized as a goddess." "I never thought about it like that," Ria responded after a little pause. Naruto kissed her on the lips. "All right, I'll make it official. Ria, the mother goddess, fertility, second chances, and redemption." Instead of a relieved expression, he received a puzzled expression with a raised eyebrow as a response. "Not so good?" "I adore it." Ria smiled brightly at him before kissing him and locking their lips together. It didn't take long for the couple to fall asleep in one another's embrace. After 3 hours, the sleeping Naruto summoned a tired clone who softly departed the room with his ninja steps while the dojo's perimeter seals pinged inside his consciousness. The clone repressed a yawn with the back of his palm as he strolled outside into the freezing weather, only to notice that it was still snowing as the dojo grounds were totally covered with the magical stuff. The clone surveyed the perimeters of the dojo building before feeling energy coming from the back, where Ryozanapaku's personal hot spring was located. Who would be lurking back there? He murmured to himself as he walked into the dense woods. For some reason, he couldn't tell whose energy signature it was or how good it was, so the clone had to be cautious. After some time, the clone approached the hot spring's boundary and pushed his hands through a dense shrub before ripping them apart, revealing the hot spring itself and its occupant. My. Naruto is so daring. When the clone saw who it was, a tremendous nosebleed sent it falling against a tree. He straightened up and looked to the side, his nose hidden. Kuroka, what are you doing? He spoke angrily. What exactly does it look like? Kuroka inquired, as if it were apparent despite the fact that he was naked in front of him. I'm taking a bath in the hot spring. A sensual smile twisted her lips as she moved a wet bang away from her eyes. Do you want to join me? Uh-oh. No, too bad. Kuroka appeared behind the blonde, ready to push, but clone Naruto grabbed her arms and quickly wrapped her in the black kimono. Oh, as she turned away from him, the Nekomata pouted. Party pooper. What were you doing out here in the first place? The clone inquired, drawing her attention to himself. You should be fast asleep. Kuroka offered him a smile, but he could tell it wasn't genuine. What's wrong? Oh, absolutely nothing. Clone Naruto gave her a sigh as he gave her a dry glance. Nothing is going my way. Kuroka acknowledged with a frown, perplexing the blonde. What exactly do you mean? Nothing has been perfect since I killed my master to defend my sister. I'm being pursued by the underworld. My sister despises me, and I know Ophis and Cao Cao are seeking for me right now. And now. She gazed at the blonde, her cheeks flushed slightly. Now it's up to you. Me. You haven't forgotten how badly I want you. To assist me in reviving my race. Kuroka sighed and turned aside as clone Naruto reddened. Is it because I'm not attractive enough? I know Medusa and Ria are stunning, and I know I can match them in beauty, yet. She turned to face the clone who had comprehended what she was saying. I must be doing something wrong. I haven't seen a single sign of your attentiveness since you welcomed me here. The clone was surprised by the news before responding. You're wrong about that. The boss thinks you're stunning. Kuroka blushed, yet she was perplexed at the same moment, although he's clearly set on Ria and Medusa. What exactly do you mean by the boss? Kuroka inquired before her thoughts returned to her and Triton's failed attempt to capture him in Aphrodite's Colosseum. Oh, you're a clone. She expressed her disappointment. Not even the real one can talk to me. Come on, put a stop to this right now. A clone with a checkmark Naruto reprimanded her as he gripped her shoulders and turned her around to face him. The boss or I get so confused sometimes. Whatever. He is concerned about you. I am concerned about you. If the boss didn't care about you as much as he cares about everyone else in his life, he wouldn't have taken you out on a date back then. He smiled as he placed his finger beneath her chin, lifting her face to reveal the yellow eyes. He's been really busy, and things have been a little hectic lately, but luckily I'm here. Kuroka couldn't help but smile when he heard the tone of the clone. Why is that? She was taken aback when the blonde cupped her face before making contact with her lips, causing her to moan in excitement. So I can do that. He smiled as he broke the kiss. Gosh, I'm lucky, and so is the boss. Seeing the raised eyebrow, he said, the boss will remember this later. Really? Kuroka inquired in a seductive tone before her gaze was drawn to the south of his body. Everything? Yeah. The perplexed clone cocked his head. Why? Kuroka tackled him with startling speed into the hot spring before he knew it and with a yelp of astonishment. From just before dawn to hours later, Naruto silently left his room after carefully detaching himself from Rei's warm embrace, and ultimately entered the main house through the hallway that connected the apartment building to it. When his clone's memories of spending time with Kuroka in the hot spring flashed through his memory, he sighed profoundly, but smiled to himself when the Nekomata had a real smile before falling asleep in Miu's room in her cat form. I need to spend more time with her, and Medusa, and all of the girls. With that in mind, he entered the common room, where they normally relax the majority of the time, and discovered Medusa sitting in front of the table. Ah, good morning, Medusa. Before noticing the girl's displeasure, Naruto greeted her with a smile and a wave. What's the matter? What? She gazed at him before smiling at him. Nothing, not at all. Before sitting next to her, Naruto gave her a dry glance. Don't give me that. Medusa was taken aback when he saw right through her. Please tell me what's wrong. After all, it is Christmas. Albeit 1 week sooner for some reason. Medusa. When Medusa's hand was placed atop his own, he halted and glanced at her face, observing the girl's scarlet cheeks. You, too? The former priestess was perplexed. Me too, you say? Medusa inquired with a tiny glare, drawing a sweat drop from Naruto, who nodded. Well. I thought there was a perimeter breach last night, but I was too tired to check it myself, so I sent a clone instead. He coughed, his cheeks flushing slightly. It turned out that Kuroka was the one who caused the breach, and she was at the hot spring. As he strained to continue his story, Naruto's sweat drop became larger, shuddering from the frightening atmosphere behind Medusa. And, she was naked at first but my clone put her clothes on. He said this quickly before absorbing additional oxygen, and Kuroka may or may not have thrown him into the hot spring, where they stayed for the majority of the night. Despite his dual training in ninjutsu and furinji style, nothing could prepare him for Medusa's tremendously powerful ominous aura. Naruto was sweating profusely as he glanced at the glaring Medusa, who crushed her cup of tea after hearing the narrative, comprehending what his old perverted master and godfather had told him about when it came to the female gender. Women's unfathomable wrath. The one thing that no man can fight. Their one true, unbeatable foe. Naruto repeated those words before gulping heavily and clasping his hands around Medusa's. When the frightening aura vanished and he saw a calm, albeit slightly upset, Medusa, he smiled inwardly. But I wasn't really there, you know. But it was actually a clone of you. Medusa growled at him, causing the blonde to back away somewhat. So it was still technically you. She pouted and turned away from him to hide the tears in her eyes. Was she really that gorgeous? Naruto frowned as he moved his hand to her cheek, turning her face to view her tears, and wiped them away. Honestly, Naruto hesitated as Medusa focused her whole concentration on her. You, Kuroka, Ria. He massaged her cheek tenderly, causing Medusa to rub against his hand. You three are stunning, beautiful, and unique in your own right. That's what I like about you three. What? Medusa, wide-eyed, peered at him. What exactly did you just say? Naruto scooted closer to Medusa, grinning at her. I said that's what I love about you girls. Their lips pressed together as he spoke, and I will never make any of you feel neglected again. His eyes closed as Medusa's lips contacted his, ushering in a new type of intensity than Ria and Kuroka's kisses. To him, Ria was the sun, and her lips tasted like sweet honey blended with honey. Her lips were cinnamon with a dash of ginger with Kuroka. Medusa's lips were a combination of cherry blossoms and strawberries. Overall, these were fantastic kisses, and the girls will undoubtedly return for more, and he will be waiting for one or all of them at the same time. Ahem. When the two opened their eyes and separated their lips, they saw a pouty Kuroka and a seemingly sweet Ria with her godly aura pouring out of the doorway. And what exactly do we have here? Ria inquired of Naruto, who appeared to be going to crap himself on the spot. Well? Think, Naruto. How am I going to get out of this? After that, Naruto heard a ping from the perimeter's seals and a hello from outside. I'm saved if that's what I think it is. He chuckled nervously as he lifted his finger. Please give me a moment, Ria. After a brief nod, Ria and the other girls watched their blonde lover dash out of the building and return with his hands behind his back, heightening their curiosity. Naruto, what do you have behind your hands? The Titaness inquired, her aura fading by the second. Well, I asked Michael for a favor, and that favor has just arrived. Naruto gave a slight smile in response. When did you ask him? Remember the brief time we were separated in the mall? Ria gave him a nod as Medusa and Kuroka stood beside her and in front of Naruto. That's when I called Michael. This time it was Medusa who spoke. But you despise cell phones and don't even own one. I know. Naruto grumbled as he scrambled with whatever was behind his back to reveal his right palm glowing with a golden emblem. Michael gave me this to help me communicate better, so I decided to put it to use last night. He extended his left arm, revealing 3 little boxes stacked on top of each other in his palm. To be honest, I expected them to be ready for New Year's, so Michael must have had his brethren work extra hours. But this is preferable. Naruto smiled at the girls again after handing them their present. Open them up, girls. They did, and all they got was a chorus of gasps. Medusa's gift was a gleaming white bracelet with a Greek shield charm with her name inscribed on it because her name means protectress, a red katana charm that most likely represents her Kasaka-style studies, and a blue diamond with an introverted purple, sky blue swirl inside of it. Kuroka's gift was a silver ring set with a clear-cut aquamarine, her birthstone, with the same swirl sign carved on the surface. She wondered how he knew her birthstone, but she set her thoughts aside as Kuroka examined her ring. She spotted an inscription on the inside of the ring at that point. It said, "No one ever truly is alone." Her eyes welled up as she deciphered the meaning of the writing. In a nice way, he was her light and she was his darkness. Finally, Ria. She remained there, stunned, marveling at her gift, which had taken the Titaness by surprise. It was a golden necklace set with a blue sapphire and a raging lion's head, her sacred animal. She flipped the jewel over to see an inverted golden swirl that shone in the light. Naruto smiled happily before being pushed to the ground by 3 bodies, his face being drenched with wet lips. He returned some kisses to the girls before sitting up cross-legged in front of Ria, Medusa, and Kuroka in Caesar. Do you think you girls are like them? He responded with happy nods. Would you like some assistance? His response was another series of nods. Okay. Naruto sat back with some friendly joking and stroking as the girls looked gorgeous with their gifts. The sapphire necklace around Rei's neck drew his attention not just to her assets, but also to her sea-green eyes, which were enhanced by the jewel. Kuroka's left ring finger's ruby-encrusted ring shone in the light of the rising sun as she chuckled while glancing at it. Medusa's silver bracelet jingled as she blew a kiss to the blonde, revealing the jewel's heightened attractiveness. "Merry Christmas, girls." Ria, Medusa, and Kuroka exchanged glances before adopting the same sultry expression, perplexing Naruto as he tilted his head. What's the deal with the looks? When the girls turned predatory on him, he inquired anxiously, "Girls, we were thinking of ways to thank you," Medusa began. "So we decided to take you to," Kuroka spoke out as she licked her lips. "The hot spring, and with your barriers, we would remain uninterrupted." Ria finally responded with another sunny smile, forcing Naruto's legs to fall sleepy for a minute, for the whole day. Naruto was thrown outside by a severe nosebleed after he was no longer able to hold it after seeing the females naked in the hot spring. "Naruto." The females dashed outdoors and kneeled before the blonde ninja with whirling eyes, crimson cheeks, and blood streaking from his nose. "Girls. Naked. Hot spring," lowly murmured the youngster. Sweat drips fell down the girls' faces as Ria grabbed up Naruto and led him back inside the heated building, Kuroka and Medusa following suit. Finally, they chose to hug him with their bodies, collecting warmth like a fireplace as the four of them grinned in the early, not Christmas morning. 1 week later, somewhere in Japan's sea, most of the passengers on Ryozenpaku's boat, the Saratoga II, were naive to the hazards of the tournament established by its sponsor, Yami, as they enjoyed their cruise outside the open sea with their pastimes. Mew, Ria, Medusa, and the transformed Kuroka were preparing lunch for everyone on board the yacht. To pass the time, the masters did their own thing, such as getting on each other's nerves and poking one another. All except one, Kenichi Shirahama. Why? Why? He groaned, caressing his arms and legs to relieve the discomfort from yesterday's all-day finishing movements training from hell session. Why me? With his forehead twitching, Naruto slapped him across the face, knocking Kenichi out of his coma. "Thank you. Please keep quiet for the rest of the journey." When the boy sighed loudly, he had to control the temptation once more. Sigh. "Why don't you go help Mew make the lunch, okay?" Kenichi, the not-so-whining, hurried away inside the boat. "That kid." Naruto shook his head before turning around to observe a huge ocean surface devoid of any islands. He reflected over the 3 days Hestia and her girls stayed with them, and the joy on Rei's face as she loved her time with them and, of course, him. Ria was understandably upset when her daughter and granddaughters left to the United States, but Hestia, along with Celine and Isabel, pledged to pay her and Naruto frequent visits, especially around the holidays. "I have some time." After deciding to sit near the mast because he had nothing else to do, Naruto took several slow breaths and closed his eyes, slipping into meditation. When Akisame noticed the meditating child above deck, he went to his towering friend at the helm. "Hayato, are you sure about this?" "About what?" "Everything. The tournament, Saiga meeting Naruto, everything. I can't believe he actually returned." With a slight smirk, Akisame stated. "I did, too." Under his breath, the elder whispered. The masters of Furinji style in Jujutsu glanced at the meditating blonde, observing him breathe evenly and sit as calm as if nothing could annoy or disturb him. Naruto's performance was outstanding. He not only acquired the Furinji style quickly, but his powers as a teacher and sparring partner for Kenichi and Mew were unfathomable, as the two students' skills surged after each sparring bout. Not to mention that he assisted Kenichi in learning an ancient method that would undoubtedly be incredibly beneficial to him in the future. "He's quite something, Hayato." As the elder simply nodded with a sneer, Akisame complimented. "I envy you for having him as a disciple." The elder's smirk became even wider. "I know." Before an angry vain mark emerged on his face, he said in a cocky tone. Meanwhile, Naruto entered his mindscape to speak with his partners, but he was in for a big surprise. The mindscape of Naruto didn't expect to see Kurama and Ashura seated in front of a massive plasma screen TV that plainly matched the fox's gargantuan size, laughing at whatever was on the screen when he appeared. He reasoned that it had to be quite funny because it made both of his partners chuckle. When Naruto came closer, the software revealed itself to be one of his memories, his first kiss ever, with Sasuke. "NNNNOOOOO," he screamed at the top of his lungs, scaring the jeepers before collapsing in the grassy fields. "Oh no." Ashura dashed up to his descendant and shook him awake. "Naruto, Naruto, Naruto." When the younger son of Hagoromo felt the ground tremor beneath his knees, he turned to see his accomplice digging as fervently as a dog would to discover his hidden bone. "What are you doing?" Hiding the evidence. Well done. Ashura went to rouse Naruto up, albeit slowly. Ashura chose to slap the Uzumaki, who awoke a second later after Kurama placed the television within the hole and filled it with dug-up soil. Hey, there. The disoriented Naruto gazed at Ashura as he looked about for something. I came to speak with you about something, but then I saw. What, Naruto? Kurama kept his cool by resting his head on his forearms and lying his body on the ground. There was a TV in here about your size. And Naruto blinked numerous times, attempting to recall what had occurred but failing for some reason. I blacked out. He looked around at his teammates, who were sweating profusely. Why can't I remember? What exactly did you want to talk to us about? Ashura inquired. Oh, yes. As Naruto spoke, Ashura received a lovely wink from Kurama by shifting the subject. I was wondering if I can use my connections as Poseidon to find out about something. Like what? Naruto smirked and whistled, prompting the fox to snarl and an angry vein to form on his forehead. Naruto. Instead of an answer, he got more whistling, this time louder. Well, whatever. You may utilize your strength to examine this something, because Poseidon and his Olympian colleagues were and still are quite powerful. You also have influence because of your partnership with the three factions. I see. That's when Naruto spotted the freshly dug and disturbed pit next the tailed beast. What exactly did you dig in there, Kurama? He watched Kurama recoil slightly after mentioning the dirt, and his eyes narrowed in suspicion. What exactly do you have under there? In a brief second, Ashura appeared next to Kurama's face, shocking the blonde as the two nervously chuckled. Nothing. They cringed slightly as Naruto narrowed his eyes before approaching them and treading on the fresh mud. What's underneath here? Nothing. After calming down, Ashura responded nonchalantly. Naruto, not believing a word, glanced at his partner's massive eye while seeing his own reflection. Kurama? As we said before, nothing. Naruto took the difficult path, pursing his lips at his render's actions while staring at the earth beneath their feet. Okay, then. He produced a giant Rasengan with his palm, stunning Ashura and Kurama. I'll find out for myself, then. He was ready to slam the massive Rasengan into the ground when one of them fractured due to the spherical pressure. Wait. When he saw Naruto gaze up at him and away from the Rasengan, Kurama began to sweat and murmured, "It's my crap." The entire world seemed to come to a halt for Naruto and Ashura as they peered at their sweat-dropped and blushing-tailed beast, who diverted his gaze to the sky, quietly lamenting the lamest excuse he had ever put up in his centuries-long life. But, to his amazement, it succeeded, as a disgusted Naruto scampered away from their location before fleeing the mindscape. Moments passed as the two tenants stood in silence, Kurama still ashamed and an unbelieving Ashura standing before him with slouched shoulders and dangling arms. The Ninshu's replacement opened his lips to say something, but a snarl and a lethal stare from Kurama stopped him. Not a single word. Japan's C. Naruto rose up from his spot, shuddering, after waking up. As Naruto proceeded to the starboard side, he spread his arms, and there stood an apprehensive Kenichi, his arms resting on the wooden plank. Penny for your thoughts. When Kenichi shrieked like a female, he snickered before turning around to see him. What's up, Kenichi? The brown-haired disciple moaned as he glanced out at the sea, sulking at the blonde for scaring him. Things have been so crazy this year. Yeah, I know, and I'm not sure I can win the tournament. I've only been training for a year. Kenichi said as he rested his head on his arms. Do you think I can win, Naruto? When he didn't get a response, Kenichi peered at the blonde, only to discover him sleeping. Hey. Naruto awoke with a snort after being prodded in the side and gazed at a glaring Kenichi. What? Are you done whining now? Hey. Naruto sighed and rested his palm on Kenichi's head. You just have to believe in yourself more, Kenichi. That is simple for you to say. You learn methods much faster than I do, and you're a great combatant to boot. Kenichi mumbled, eliciting another sigh from the oblivious Shinobi. Naruto inhaled hard before exhaling gently, intending to reveal something from his history. I'm not one of those prodigies that you think I am. Huh. Naruto nodded, confirming what he had just spoken. Before meeting the elder and coming to Ryozanpaka, I went to a dojo that taught basic martial arts for self-defense and other people's protection. I wasn't bad or good at the same time, and everyone doubted my ability to pass. I failed the graduate exam 3 times. What? Kenichi, wide-eyed and shocked, inquired. However, I never gave up. I trained and trained till I passed. The point I'm trying to convey is that there are prodigies and hard workers. Naruto raised his thumb to Kenichi, then to himself. It's you and me that put in the effort, and nothing is wrong with that. Simply trust yourself and your training. Kenichi then watched Naruto enter the boat before returning his gaze to the sea. As he made a fist, his unsure expression transformed into one of determination. I will. The multi-style disciple strolled to the center of the boat and began practicing his martial arts katas. Unbeknownst to him, he was being monitored by the masters above, who were cheering him on. Attaboy. As he looked forward, something attracted his eye and he caught a glimpse of something. And as the boat approached it, that something grew larger and larger. I suppose we're here. The island Yami's command, Ryozanpaka, is here. The man known as Kensai to Yami but known as Ogata Ishinai to the rest of the world studied the holographic projection in the center of the vast circular room with his disciple, Kabuto, standing behind him. The Ryozanpaka party was seen docking and entering their island through their fortified gate. His cold gaze studied the silence, which was heightened by his fellow master's silence as they decided to observe their opponents. This is happening a lot sooner than I expected, Aiche. A tall and powerful man in a crimson robe emerged from the shadows, revealing tribal tattoos near his eyes with 4 patterns in a headband. I wasn't expecting to have a fight with my friend so soon. His gaze was fixed on Apachai. I certainly hope he has improved. A guard, you're always the fighting enthusiast. After a chuckle, Ogata stated. Another figure, this time a woman, took a step forward. She had long black hair that shone despite the dim lighting and cold eyes that didn't match her jujitsu hakama save for the top, which had red highlighting and exposed a lot of her cleavage. Her eyes were lifeless, cold, and apathetic, as if there was no light in them at all. Kushinada. Ogata said hello, but she was ignored since she was staring at the image. Is that him, Aiche? She pointed to the blonde boy with the headband. He's the invincible Superman's disciple. Kushinada looked to her colleague, who had also emerged from the darkness, and nodded slowly. Then he shall die by our hands. Master Kushinada, with all due respect. Kabuto walked forward, a smug look on his face, his gaze fixed on Naruto's holograph. He'll fall before me. He stated boldly, his body radiating faintly purple chakra. The current Yami masters gave firm nods as they viewed the image feeds that included photographs of Kenichi and Mew, the masters and their female associates, as well as the blonde Shinobi, their added major target of elimination. To be continued.
That's it for this podcast. Thanks for listening to this video. If you did enjoy this part of the story, like, share, and subscribe for more. And thank you all for helping support, and have a great day.